Aloha, Penn Nation. You are now tuned into yet another edition of BJPenn.com Radio, the fighter's voice. As always, guys, I'm your host, Jay Kinch. Thank you very much for joining us. This is episode 112, and we've got 3 guests for your listening enjoyment. We're going to kick things off with our good friend, Colby Covington. Colby, of course, more or less stealing the show at UFC 235, from crashing Usman's open workout to harassing Dana White, causing a ruckus cage side, and almost getting into a brawl in the casino buffet line after the fight. We're going to talk about all that and much more with Colby, including his thoughts on a now looming matchup with Kamaru Usman. Next up, following the announcement that he will be fighting Jose Aldo at UFC 237 in Rio de Janeiro on May 11th, Alexander Volkanovski returns to the show to break down that matchup and discuss what a big win in Rio means for his career and his hopes for the title. And then closing out this episode, we are joined by American Top Team owner and founder, Dan Lambert. We had a great conversation with Dan, and I was very happy to finally get him on the show. He's truly one of a kind in the MMA world and, quite frankly, the sports world in general. We're going to cover the gambit with Dan in our 45-minute conversation with him. Again, it really was a good one. I hope you guys enjoy it. So let's waste no time. This is BJPenn.com Radio, the fighter's voice. Let's kick things off with Colby Chaos Covington. All right, Penn Nation, the nerd-bashing American winning machine is back yet again. So let's bring a little chaos to this episode with the one and only Colby Covington. What's the word, champ? How did the poker tournament go the other day?
Shit. The poker, it was no good, but it's okay. You know, the people's champ is back to give the people some knowledge and inform people on what's going on.
So, real quick, before we jump into it, you play a good amount of poker, right? And I believe it's Texas Hold'em, correct?
Yeah, I love Texas Hold'em. It's similar to fighting, Jason. You know, it's a lot of strategy, a lot of patience, and it's a mental warfare when you're on the poker table. So, you know, it really translates well to the mindset of a fighter.
Now, is that something? Do you get involved in that a lot? Like every time there's a tournament down by you in Florida, you try to jump in there, or? Yeah,
the good thing about me is that, you know, I live really close to the Hard Rock Coast Hotel, you know, here. So sometimes they have the big WPT events that come down, and WPT is known in the poker world. It's you know, they always put big guarantees on their prize pools. So sometimes there's $1 million prize pools, or you can even win $1 million for first place. You know, so
wow.
I love to jump into tournaments at the Hard Rock and play here and there.
Yeah, and you got to stack those chips one way or another, right?
That's right, bro. We got to keep moving forward. We got to make that money, man. Let's be honest. You know, no one wants to fight me right now, so the bills got to get paid one way or another.
Absolutely, man. So speaking of stacking some chips, seems like we might finally see you get back to work in the octagon and cash in on another payday pretty soon here.
Maybe. I don't know. You know, is Low Energy Marty going to follow in the footsteps of his predecessor, Tyron Woodley? You know, he's already faking injuries again. Another move that Woodley used to love to do. You know, we saw in that Palms buffet line, he was fine with his foot. He was, you know, acting all hostile, but, you know, saying all this stuff that he was going to brutalize me on ESPN. But now we haven't heard a word out of him, you know. You know, I was ready to go in June or July, but, you know, I haven't heard one thing yet. So, you know, he's probably going to go for the path to least resistance, and that's either taking another fight with Woodley or even getting that 36-year-old virgin Ben Askren.
Yeah, that would be a shame, man. But for right now, I guess, you know, let's stay positive and hope that he does take the fight. Before we get into you know, the matchup, the looming matchup with Kamaru, give us your thoughts on the fight with Woodley, how it all played out. Did you expect Usman to dominate Woodley like that?
Yeah, you know, it was a boring fight, man. I'm glad I was in the crowd. You know, the loudest pop the crowd was when they put me, the people's champ, on the big screen. You know, that's when the fans went crazy. Besides that, it was a boring fight. You know, you saw a guy in Tyron Woodley who's a shell of his former self, a guy that doesn't want to fight anymore. And let's be honest, Jason, you know, I had already given Usman the blueprint on Woodley. I said it for years. I said Woodley sucks. He has no cardio. He's got no fight. He's got no heart. You know, I said the way to beat him, you know. But let's be honest. I already beat his ass multiple times in the gym. I took his soul, you know, and the guy is not the same guy that he used to be. He's not even a top 10 level fighter anymore, so he shouldn't even be fighting. He should stick to his non-existent Hollywood career that he's trying to go after and his pathetic rap album career that he's going after. He's trying to make songs about me and this and that. He's not a fighter anymore, and that's what we saw last time when he fought Usman.
So you would suggest that kind of the similarities in the game plan and having that pace, that's a very similar fight to what would have happened had you fought Tyron.
That's the very similar thing that I've been telling every media member for the last couple of years. I said what I did, and I guess Marty Snoozman was listening to my interviews because, another time he tried to copy my blueprint. Look at his 3 biggest wins. They're all guys that I already fought and destroyed, took their souls. He's just following my blueprint for success. Marty Usman wants to be just like me, but let's be honest, he'll never be able to beat me.
Now, last time we spoke, you had obvious hopes that Tyron would win, simply for the fact that you guys have been destined to cross paths for a while now. Were you disappointed at the outcome, considering all the promotion that you've already done for Woodley?
Yeah, I was disappointed. I wanted to be the one to finish Tyquil Woodley's career, and I was supposed to be the one, We had a history that goes back in the gym when I used to beat the fuck out of him every day in sparring, and, here was this chance in front of the whole world to try and get me back, but, it was just going to be me exposing him again, just like I did in the gym, so it sucks, man. I built that fight up for, 2-3 years, and it was the biggest fight at welterweight that could have been served, and the people didn't get that fight, the UFC robbed the people of it. And it's unfortunate, but, it is okay. It's on to bigger and better things now, and I'm moving forward. And now I got a fight with Marty Snoozman, and I'm going to end all his hype, and that it's going to be the end of him after we fight.
Now, regardless of the outcome at UFC 235, like you said earlier, you, my friend, you managed to steal the show on so many levels, crashing the open workout, rolling up on Dana White gambling, sitting cage side and causing a ruckus. Would you call that mission accomplished for the weekend there?
Yeah, definitely, there some chaos. Everybody felt chaos in Vegas that weekend, The thing about chaos is he's unpredictable. You don't know what he's going to do. You don't know where he's going to be. I told everybody, I will find Dana White, and I will get my meeting face-to-face with him. And that's exactly what I did, Jason. I got face-to-face with him. I got an explanation from him. He told me that the People's Champ, yes, you are next. Yes, you will fight the winner of whoever wins this number 1 contender fight. So mission accomplished. I will get to defend my title against the number 1 contender, Marty Snoozman.
Now, you had said that in other interviews that you and Dana are on good terms. He had said that things got pretty crazy cage side and that he had to go over and do some damage control. What was going on there?
Man, the cage side, man, it was crazy, man. Just, I guess everybody hates our president and just is anti-America or something, man. I'm wearing my MAGA hat, and all these people are going crazy, yelling at me, saying they're going to come take that hat off me and this and that. I mean, I go to my front row seat, and Mama Woodley's sitting there, and all the fans are saying, oh, you're the real champ, Colby. You're the real champ. And I'm just saying, people are saying, and then she freaks out. No, my son Tyron Woodley, he's the real champ. You sit your ass down, Colby. And she's freaking down. And then the next second I know, Todd Gurley and his little crew are on the other side of me, and they're getting all crazy. Oh, fuck you, Colby Covington. Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck MAGA. I'll fuck you up. Let's go outside right now, motherfucker. And they were getting all hostile, so Dana had to come over again and put, like, some security guards and some cops over there. Shit was crazy, man. It was breaking out in the crowd, but let's be honest, man, those fights were boring at UFC 235, so someone had to interject some energy into the crowd because there was literally no hype on the card. There was no electricity. So, I had to give the fans what they want. They came to see a show. And that's what I did for them.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man, that a hat, just a simple hat, can incite so much anger with people these days, huh?
Dude, it's unbelievable. Just the hat, man, can trigger people so easily. It gets them in their feelings where, they don't even know what to feel. They're freaking raging at the mouth, and they don't know what to do. But it's just a hat, man. At the end of the day, man, like, respect our country, respect our president, man, and respect everybody to have their own opinion. Not everybody's going to align with your opinion, and just because they don't have the same opinion as you doesn't mean you need to freak out and act like it's the end of the world.
Now, it looked like one of the guys tried to make his way over towards you before going into the cage as well. I want to say it was Smith, if I'm not mistaken. But, even watching the main event and the co-main event, you were clearly standing up and talking to all the guys. What were you saying to Kamaru and Woodley while they were fighting?
I was telling them before the fight, hey, this is a great number one contender fight, but to be the man, you got to beat the man. And neither one of you motherfuckers is the man. I'm the man. I'm Donald Trump's favorite fighter. I'm the real world champion. And after you guys settle this number one contender fight, get ready because you're going to get your ass whooped next. And then after the fight, I just let Marty Snoozman know he's boring, he sucks, and he's next. And he tried to run over me and act like a little street thug. But, you can't put pause on this, man. We're professional fighters, man. Keep that shit in the cage, man. Don't act like a street thug.
Right, save it for the payday, that's for sure. Now, I can only imagine what you were saying to John Jones and Anthony Smith during that fight as well.
Yeah, man, just heckling them a little bit, I was trying to get a meeting with my boy John Bones, man. We used to share a bunk bed in college together. I was letting him know I was there for support, man. I'm turning, man. Maybe we can be friends, man. Maybe we can work this out and be friends, Johnny. Come on, brother. Give me a chance, man. We used to be best friends in college, sharing a bunk bed together. Let's work this out, man. We've been through more than these motherfuckers, especially those shady motherfuckers, Malky and the first-round management team, those guys that are yes men around you, man. I'm going to be a real motherfucker around you and tell you how it is. I'm not going to, yes you and tell you this and that. I'm going to get your life straight. So, hopefully Johnny sees the light and he comes to the realness side.
So there's a possibility you and John could squash the beef if you guys had a little conversation, off the record or off camera, rather?
Yeah, I think so, man. I think that, if we shared some of our memories that we had in college together, I think we could get over this. It's just like any bad relationship with a girl or this and that. You have a little fight, a little argument, but, you work it out. You talk about things that, that where you guys can find common ground. And I just think that we shared a lot of memories together, winning junior college national titles together, and all the trips that we went on for wrestling is, we share a special bond that you can't ever replace. So, I think if we were able to sit down face to face, he would understand me just like Dana White did.
Well, that's interesting, man, and that's encouraging. I hope that day comes to fruition. But just to stick with the card here for a moment, what about the Lawler and Askren fight? What did you make of that stoppage and the reaction from the crowd?
Yeah, I can't believe that Herb Dean saved Ben Askren's life, man. He was literally going to die. He saved his life, man. I mean, honestly, Ben Askren should give his Hodge Trophy to Robbie Lawler because Robbie Lawler took him down more times than he took him down, and he had him literally finished and dead if it wasn't for Herb Dean saving him. So, it was a completely ill-advised stoppage, and who knows, man? Maybe the fix was in, man. It seemed like the fix was in that night.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, watching it with some buddies of mine, one of them in particular was kind of upset that Herb didn't stop the fight when Ben was getting smashed on by Robbie there. But apparently you crossed paths with Ben in the back and told him to get a win in the UFC, to which he replied, "I just did," and you came back with a really good one-liner, saying that one, the referee didn't gift you. Was that the end of the conversation with you and Ben?
Yep, that was the end of it. Brett Okamoto was sitting right there, and he heard it all. I just said, yo, get a win, man. You want to come to the top of the mountain, no problem. I'll kick you right back to the bottom. But come on, man, you got to earn your way up. I'm not going to help you and give you a hand up. You got to earn your way up. And I let him know, get a win in the UFC, and then we can talk. You're obviously the easiest fight in the UFC. You don't know how to throw a punch, and your wrestling sucks. You got dropped on your head by Robbie Lawler. So, boom, roasted. There you go, buddy. Give your Hodge Trophy up to Robbie Lawler. But yeah, he's just a hype job. He's trying to build himself up into something that he's not, and he's going to get exposed soon. That's why everybody's calling him out now. They all see how easy of a fight he is.
Now, obviously, I want to get to the situation in the buffet line in the casino, but you had mentioned that you also had a run-in with Nate Diaz as well. He flipped you off walking by, and was that it? Did you respond? Was there any more interaction between you guys?
Yeah, he walked by, flipped me off. Fuck you, Colby. I'm just like, dude, where's this energy coming from? You want to act like a tough guy, dude? Let's see it. Come to my face. Say it to my fucking face. Or even better, let's settle in the cage, man. If you're so hard, you think you're such a gangster, man. Everybody knows who run the West Coast. I'm from the West Coast, motherfucker. I run the West Coast. So, I thought it was hilarious. He's walking by trying to trying to start something that he's never going to finish. Because honestly, he's never going to sign a contract to fight me. He got his ass whooped by RDA. RDA fucking ate his fucking face up, took brain cells, took years off his life in that fight. And we saw what RDA did against me. He was, he got pummeled. He got punished. So, Nate Diaz is a complete joke. He's just trying to keep his hype and look cool to the fans. That's all he was trying to do, is look cool to the fans. So that's about all he's doing. He's a fucking joke.
And, of course, that leads us to the video of Ali and Kamaru and what seemed to be several other guys approaching you in the casino. First off, man, who started the altercation? Who approached who initially?
It was completely their side. They approached me looking to get a reaction out of me. Obviously, they want me to swing. They came up to me because they're threatened now. Now they realize that I'm the guy in the way to take everything that they worked for. So, of course, they're going to try and come to me and get me to, hopefully I'll swing on them and lose my title shot. But it wasn't going to happen, man. All I was doing, Jason, was sitting in the buffet line trying to get some crab legs, man. Is there something wrong, man? Can I get some crab legs before I get on my flight back to South Florida and all my beautiful bitches in Miami? It's unbelievable, You got this Sasquatch dude of Snoozman's buddy. He comes up, puts hands on me, pushes me. I'm like, oh yeah, what are you gonna do, dude? And then Ali comes over. He tries to take a swing on me, and of course my cat-like reflexes, he's not gonna hit me, So I get out of the way. And then Ali's acting all tough. Usman's jumping over barriers. It's hilarious. He was just getting wheelchaired the night before to his press conference, but then the next day he's jumping over barriers, sprinting in my face, acting all hard and shit. And then Ali, my friend's holding Ali and Ali back, and Ali punched my friend in the side of the head like 3 or 4 fucking times, like hard. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? We're professionals. You're a manager. How embarrassing a fucking manager is punching some random guy in a buffet line. Like, that's embarrassing. This guy should be deported back to whatever country he snitched on. Was it Egypt or whatever? Was that the country he snitched on? I don't know, but he's an FBI informant, and he's a little terrorist rat. So, he needs to get deported out of this country. But, Snoozman, man, all that energy, he was so low energy when he got face-to-face. Once he looked in my eyes and realized that he's dealing with the man now, I saw a lot of scaredness. And you know what's hilarious, Jason? I haven't heard a peep out of him since that day. Where's all his interviews? Why hasn't he said anything?
Yeah, I was going to say, man, surprisingly, I guess at the end of the altercation or, after the initial, when things got started there, he surprisingly seemed to be the level-headed one out of his entourage. Would you say that's accurate? Do you think that he was kind of the one to cool things off before it got, out of control?
No, I wouldn't say that, because he's the one that instigated and started it. He ran up at first and pushed my friend out of the way like he was going to do something to me. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, Snoozman? We're professionals who fight in a cage. You want to fight me? Don't worry. All the fans want to see this, but you're only going to see it for $60 on high def. That's the only way you're going to catch these hands. Otherwise, I ain't fighting like a fucking criminal street thug. And it's just so funny because the night before he's giving this speech. Oh, I care about kids. Oh, my kid. Oh, I'm such a nice guy. But then the next day he's acting like a street thug, putting innocent people's lives in danger, putting little kids, pregnant women, putting them in danger, pushing me into a pregnant woman. Like, the guy's a complete fake, and that's what's wrong with this sport. Is all these guys pretending to be something they're not. He's not a good guy. He's trying to act like he's a good guy. He's a piece of shit with no morals, and I can't wait to get in the cage with him because I'm literally going to take his life.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that definitely could have gone very badly had things not chilled out there. But when I spoke to Dan Lambert yesterday, or the day before rather, he had said that he doesn't understand why Ali interjects himself into situations like that. And I think the MMA community reacted the same way. Like, why are you attacking an athlete in public like that? You're a manager. Like, you're talking about the whole level of professionalism there. It was crazy to see that.
Yeah, it's crazy, and he's trying to fight me. He's like, let's fight right now. Let's do this. Let's take it out. So I'm like, dude, you're not even a fighter. What are you going to do? Oh, my bad. You're a fighter. You were 1-15 as a fighter. My bad. I didn't mean to botch your record. But dude, man, Ali, that guy's a fucking scumbag, dude. I can't believe the UFC even still deals with this guy. I mean, how professional is that? Could you imagine, like, Dan Lambert, a guy like that, putting hands on someone? He would never be caught doing something like that. But let's be honest. Ali was trying to protect Usman. He's ugly and dumb, but he ain't stupid. He's trying to protect Usman and hope that I take a swing on them and lose out on my title shot. But it wasn't going to happen, man. I'm too smart for that shit, and I see right through that bullshit. It's not going to happen, man. The only way I'm going to be swinging on someone is when I'm swinging on Snoozman's face, hopefully in June or July.
One thing is for sure, man, it seems like the promotion for this fight has already begun. I know the ideal scenario was Woodley, but are you excited to promote this matchup against Kamaru?
Yeah, I'm very excited. You know, it doesn't matter who I'm fighting, man. That's what the UFC sees now, is that it doesn't matter who I'm fighting, man. I'm the show now. You know, I'm the welterweight attraction. I'm the biggest draw at welterweight. I'm the welterweight king, the real world champion, the people's champion. So I look forward to getting into promotion and selling this fight like only I know how to, because let's be honest, none of these guys can sell fights, man. Snoozman, he's boring, he's low energy, like no one wants to see that guy, no one cares to see that guy fight. He doesn't know how to promote a fight, he doesn't know how to sell a fight, and he barely knows how to fight unless he's fighting guys that I already took their souls from, guys that he's just taking the carcasses off of them after I left them for dead. He's just picking the bones off their carcasses. So, you know, I look forward to getting ready for this fight, and I look forward to the build up to it. It's going to be a great fight, Jason, and I'm stealing the game. The whole game will be taken over after I take this down.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you make a great point there. You know, obviously, Dana recognizing that you are the good promoter, or the best promoter rather, in the division, or maybe even the company for that matter. But you know, just mentioning that, do you feel like showing up to Vegas for 235, was that kind of your way to show Dana, like, hey man, I'm here, look at all this crowd pop that I get just for being here, like I am the guy that should have been in this fight?
You know, to be honest, my original plan was just to show up, have a good time, man. Just have some fun, you know. The thing about chaos is unpredictable. You don't know where he's going to be, what he's going to do. So, you know, I didn't really even have plans to go to the fight. I didn't want to go to the fight, I didn't care, but, you know, I just found myself at the fight, front row somehow. So, you know, I just wanted to go out there, have fun, and get into some trouble, man. That's what I do. That's my middle name is Trouble. So, you know, if I had to go, you know, bust in and see Dana White, if I had to go, you know, I was at the Florida Panther game watching the Las Vegas Knights in the box suite, you know, doing interviews for Fox Sports, you know, that I just wanted to be out there and give the people what they want. The people came to that event to be entertained and a show on it, and none of those fighters were giving them a show. Woodley, Usman, John Jones, none of those guys know how to promote. None of those guys know how to be entertaining. They only know how to get in the cage and fight. I can do it all, man. I know how to entertain and please the fans, and that's why I'm there. I'm there for the people, and I am the people's champion.
Now, as far as styles and the matchup between yourself and Usman, what do you think, man? Is it a good matchup for you, or a tougher one than Woodley?
You know, it's an easier matchup. Woodley is an easy matchup. He doesn't have cardio, but Usman, he doesn't know how to strike. He doesn't know how to punch. You know, I went and rewatched some of his fights, and I see a lot of weaknesses, a lot of holes in his game. So, you know, as you can see, he's already emotional. So, you know, we're going to get an emotional fighter whenever I fight him. And you know, I see some big holes in his game. I'm better than him everywhere. He's a D2 level wrestler. He's, you know, his striking sucks. He's over there with whatever that guy's name is, that was some wash up out of Holland or whatever. I have a legit Muay Thai world champion striking coach, Gregory Choplin from France, who's taken me to new levels. And of course, I'm at the world's greatest gym American top team where I'm improving every day. So, you know, he doesn't stand a chance. Honestly, it's not going 5 rounds. He's getting finished. All
right, now listen, man, as always, you've been more than generous with your time. Just a couple more questions here. Off topic, completely changing gears here. What do you make of this whole Conor McGregor situation? Smashing a fan's phone down in Miami? Too bad you weren't there to stop that, huh?
Yeah, man, you don't mess with the people. You know, I am among the people now. I'm the people's champ. So, you know, it's disheartening to hear that, you know, he's not being a man of the people and, you know, acting like that. He needs to conduct himself better than that. I
agree. And give us your thoughts on Gamebred fighting Till this Saturday. Did you have a chance to work with him a lot in the preparation for this one?
No, I've been real busy, you know, training in Miami, flying all over the world, you know, on Champ Force 1. So, you know, I haven't been able to hang out with or train with Georgie, but you know, he's coached by the best coach in the world, my coach Mike Brown. So I know Mike Thomas Brown has him ready, and it's going to be an exciting fight. I expect nothing less than fireworks this weekend.
I saw that Bisping had extended the olive branch, saying that he will be there and wanted to see if he could squash the beef with Jorge. However, you know, having spoken with him over all these years and talking about that situation, I highly doubt that's possible, but what do you make of Bisping trying to squash the beef with George?
That little one-eyed twerp, man, he needs to get... Hopefully George smacks his other eye outside of his fucking head. That guy's a fucking joke. He's the fakest guy in the game.
Well, we certainly wish Jorge the best of luck this weekend. What's next on the agenda for you, man? When are you hoping to have this fight booked? It sounds like June or July is the date for you, or do you think it's realistic that the fight gets made for then?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I'd love June or July. You know, if I have to go back to Chicago and make the United Center great again, ever since Jordan left, you know, Chicago's been a complete dump of a city, and they don't win in anything. So if they could bring back the Great American Winning Machine to show them how it's done, that'd be great. But, you know, Vegas in July, you know, fight capital of the world, that'd be amazing too. You know, a lot of drama that happened last weekend in Vegas, and, you know, I'm a pretty big figure in Vegas now. Everybody know who I was there, so, you know, it'd be good to go back to Vegas and put on a show there. But you know, I'm the only guy that talks the talk and walks the walk, you know. So let's see what happens with Marty Snoozman. Let's see if he accepts it, you know. Let's see if he doesn't change his tune. It sounds like he's already going to mute and he's trying to avoid me and run away from me. You know, he wants to look for the path of least resistance. So let's see what happens, man. We anything can happen. I don't know. I think Snoozman might try and run from this fight and avoid it at all costs.
Now, obviously, for me personally, I think International Fight Week would be perfect, but you've waited a long time already, man. I mean, you're cool with waiting till July for International Fight Week?
Man, that's the thing with me is I got time's on my side, man. I'm young. I'm 31 years young, just turned 31, so time's on my side. I'm just improving every single day, you know, and I don't fight for money. It's not about the money anymore, you know. I'm fighting for my legacy. I'm fighting for bigger things now, to put on a show for the people, you know. That's what they deserve. These fans pay their hard-earned money to come see an entertaining show, and that's what I'm doing for these people. So wherever it needs to be, however long I need to wait, I'm only going to do what I was promised, and that's fight for that world title, the undisputed title, like I earned. So, you know, if it has to be July, June, whenever, I'm waiting, I'm ready, and I'm getting better every single day. So you don't want to blink, because trust me, my next fight is going to be explosive. I'm going to take fucking Usman's head off and bring it back to American Top Team for Dan Lambert.
Now, in conclusion, brother, tell all the fans out there what a fight between yourself and Kamaru is going to look like, and why you'll be the linear champion when it's all said and done.
It's going to look a lot like an amateur fighter fighting a professional fighter. You're going to see the different levels to this game. He doesn't do anything that I do. He tries to be like me, but he can never beat me. You know, to be honest, his last 3 fights, you know, he's just tried to follow my blueprint to success. You know, he's fighting all these washed up fighters that I already beat. You know, these guys that are coming off losses. I was beating them when they were coming off wins. So, you know, I can tell you right now, it's going to look like an amateur to a professional fight, and Snoozman's not making it 5 rounds. He's going to get knocked out cold.
All right, man. Well, I'm certainly looking forward to it. Again, just like I would with Woodley, even with this fight as well, I'm very much looking forward to the promotion and the build-up to this fight, and, of course, the fight itself. Thanks, as always, for the time, man. I know we'll chat again soon. Any shout-out sponsor plugs before we let you go? The floor is yours, brother.
Appreciate it. Much love, Jason, and all of BJ Penn Nation. Biggest supporter, you know, Dan Lambert and American Top Team. I appreciate everything he does for me to get me to this level, and you know, Planet 13 out in Vegas. If you're ever in Vegas, hit up Planet 13. And then, you know, My Lee Restaurant in St. Louis. They've always been a big supporter of me and Tyron Woodley, coincidentally. So, you know, much love to them and everybody that supports me on this journey. All the people out there, even if you love me or hate me, you know, I'm trying to make your lives better. So you need to realize that and understand it. And don't worry, you have much more to hate on.
Love it or hate it, man. You're here for the entertainment, and I greatly appreciate it as well. Thanks again, man. Have a great night, great afternoon. Keep stacking those chips, bro.
You already know, baby. Talk to you soon, Jason.
All right, later, Colby. You guys already know what to expect from Colby. Always a pleasure to have him on the show, and I hope that he can get this fight with Usman for the summer. You heard Colby say himself he'd like to go back to Chicago in June, but I personally would love to see the showdown get booked for International Fight Week. Only time will tell, but let's keep it moving. Coming up next on BJPenn.com radio, the fighter's voice from the land down under, Alexander Volkanovski. All right, Penn Nation, please welcome back to the show the surging UFC featherweight powerhouse, undefeated within the promotion, calling us from down under, the one and only Alexander Volkanovski. Thanks as always for joining us, Alex. How's your morning going so far, man?
Yeah, it's going good, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm just at the park with the kids. I've actually got a film crew with me at the moment as well, so a busy morning. Already trained. Just there's a big fight coming up, so you can sort of feel it. It's all happening at the moment.
Absolutely, man. That's amazing. So it sounds like they're shooting the preview stuff, UFC countdown stuff with you now.
Oh yeah, just all that type of stuff. Yeah, it's just all a part of it, I guess. But it's got to be done. This is what we want. We
Absolutely.
want these big fights. We want this attention. That's what we want.
Absolutely. So listen, man, it's been a long time since we've had you on the show, and there's a ton of stuff to cover. But I wanted to start with the Chad Mendes fight. Last time we spoke was just before that fight, if I'm not mistaken. You were confident, as always, going into the bout, and I think everyone was looking at the matchup as a measuring stick for your potential. Of course, you dominated the fight just as you said you would, but if you don't mind, just briefly recap your performance there and how important that win really was for your career.
It was a massive win for the career. You could already see. Look what I'm fighting Aldo now, number one contender sort of fight. It just shows you I was ranked 10 before that, fighting someone like Chad Mendes, ranked number 5. One of the legends of the sport as well. And I knew that's why I wanted that fight. I knew if I fought him, this was going to move me forward. So that's why I took that fight. Not many people call Chad Mendes out, but I know I can beat anyone in the division. So I was happy to take that fight, and I'm glad I did because things went to plan. It's tough. It's Chad Mendes, but at the same time, I know these featherweights can't keep up my pace, and I know I'm eventually going to just drown them in there. That's just my style. The fight pretty much went exactly how I thought it would. I was telling people that I'm going to force him to do things. I'm going to wear him out. Every time, obviously a couple of shots landed, but at the same time, I seen everything coming. Some snuck through, but I seen everything coming. Even when he shot, I guess I felt like I forced him to shoot. You get what I mean? I was under the pressure where he was just panic. It was a panic shot, panic punch. You get what I mean? It was just that's a suffocating pressure I give. It just makes them make quick, rational decisions, and they just, you know what I mean? Not rational decisions, if you get what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
I think I worded that right.
Absolutely. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if memory serves correctly, before the fight, that one of the times that we spoke in the lead up to the fight, you had said something about you'd be the guy to retire Mendes. Was that correct?
I might have. There was talks of, I just thought that, he wants one last stint to that title. You know what I mean? That's how I felt he was. He was like, I'm going to have one last go at it. I just want that quick route to the UFC title. And if you're already thinking sort of like that, I'm going to put that crazy pressure on you that you're going to not want to be in there after fighting someone like you're not going to want to feel that ever again. I believe that's going to be the same case for Aldo. Again, he's a G of this sport, a legend, Hall of Famer. It's a massive fight for me, but at the same time, I just believe I'm going to put a pace that he won't want. He's already talking about retiring in a couple of fights and stuff. Like if you've already got that in your head, if you're looking at that finish line already, I'm going to make it a lot more shorter to that finish line. You get what I mean? So I just think that if you're already thinking of that, I'm going to make you give up early in that fight.
Right, so it was you being prolific in the case of he's already talking like he's got one foot out the door. You're going to put a fight towards him that makes him reconsider even wanting to come back. I get what you're saying there, but before we get to Aldo,
I reckon
go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, even guys that are still young in the sport, I believe that once they fight me and I put that pressure and I throw them around and they can't do anything, I'm going to make them feel the same. They're going to be there. Am I in the right spot? How did I just get manhandled like that? How did I get thrown around like a rag doll? You know what I mean? There was times like a fight like with Jeremy Kennedy. He was undefeated. And then, his go-to was a MMA grappling sort of style. And, he tried to grab me and I literally just, I manhandled him. I'm not that cocky type, but I made it look pretty easy. You could only imagine what went through his head. He goes, is this even for me? What's going on here? I believe that I'm going to make a lot of people think twice about their career.
Right, you're on the next level to the point of everybody questions their own skills. But before we get to Aldo, real quick, you mentioned Jeremy Kennedy. You've been coming on BJPenn.com radio since I believe the Shane Young fight, as far as I can remember. But you've told me that all along becoming a champion was just a matter of time, and again, expressing that confidence all along. But honestly, man, you've looked pretty indestructible in your last couple of fights. Do you feel like you're finally getting that recognition and respect that you've deserved all along? And how has that success translated into your fan base?
Yeah, 100%. It's finally, again, it was that Chad Mendes fight. It was such a big card. The world was watching. And then you had, against Chad Mendes. So you're doing that. You go out and take him out like that. All of a sudden, you're right up there. People, I threw my name in the title contentions. I'm like, oh no, I believe, I could fight Max Holloway, and then people throwing it out there. So it's just funny because it seemed like it was a slow, like them first 4 or 5 fights, it was sort of slow. But then, bang, bang, now all of a sudden, I'm getting people on social media and all that going, oh, well, this fastest route to the title ever, and I'm thinking, mate, if, realistically, that's not the case. It was like, it dragged on for a little bit. But now, you give me these top guys, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and then all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh, wait a second, this guy's legit. Let's give him that title. And I guarantee you after this fight, number one contender, I'm fighting Aldo. He's the number one, and I will be number one after this. I'm going to be the guy everyone's talking about. I'm going to be the guy that everyone goes, he's the one to give Max that big fight, you know what I mean? So Max isn't done with this division. And that's another thing. If Max is, again, I don't like to sound cocky. It's not my thing, but I'm confident in my ability. And you got someone like Max talking about, can he, at the lightweight, should I do featherweight still? Come down, after I do this, obviously I've got a bigger task ahead of me, but I'm going to get the job done. I'm going to get that win, and I'll make his decision a lot easier for him. Come down, fight me. I'll take that belt, and then there's your decision. Go back up to lightweight. You don't have to worry about that cut anymore. You know what I mean? Again, that's I'm not trying to trash talk, but yeah, he's not done in this division.
Confidence, man. It's all confidence.
If he is really thinking of that, like I said, I'll make his decision for him.
Right. Now, listen, you touched a lot of bases there, but it's basically the perfect example of all a guy really needs is that opportunity to showcase his skills against one of the best in the division, and now you're the guy that everybody's talking about. Chad Mendes was that guy for you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
Now, obviously...
But after this one, again, I'm the guy that everyone's talking about. I'm the guy that, I'm definitely the next in line. I think Frankie was waiting. He's waiting around. I haven't heard him taking on any fights. I think he's waiting for Max to come back so he can fight for that title. But letting me go and fight Aldo is a mistake if you're waiting around for that title. Because as soon as I take this win, I'm definitely going to be next in line. So that you're just going to miss out on an opportunity to fight and make some money. That's how I look at it.
Right. UFC 237 in Rio on May 11th against Jose Aldo. This, without question, is the fight that's going to propel you into superstardom and title contention. No doubt in your mind.
No doubt.
Now, Jose had publicly said that you were likely his next fight, and I know a lot went into making this fight for you on a personal level, but now that it's all finalized, man, I can only imagine the excitement that the build-up to this fight is going to bring for you.
Yeah, 100%. As you said at the start, it was, I got told about the date, and I heard him mention my name, and I was like, oh, I'm the best man at a wedding on that day. Like, this isn't good. Like, so I was sort of hoping they could give me even Aldo on a different card, a different date, or even another opponent. That's how much I didn't want to miss this wedding. But then I don't know if you heard, but yeah, my mate changed his wedding date so I could make the wedding. So that's just it. Everything's just working out. That was one thing that was playing on my mind. But now I don't have to worry about that, and it just makes me want to win even more. You know what I mean? Like the people I have around me, obviously for my family, I need to win this fight, and then I've got friends, family, supporters like that. You know what I mean? I'm going to be invincible going in there.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to touch on in a bit. Obviously, a little bit more added pressure having a best friend like that change his wedding date for you. But I know you got a ton of respect for Aldo. He's a legend in the sport, still very dangerous, very hungry. Likely sees you as a ticket to another title shot. Of course, Aldo being your ticket to UFC Gold as well. That being said, give us your thoughts on how you guys match up stylistically.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think so as well. Like, that's what he said. His manager said that, he wants one last shot at the title, and to do so he needs to take out me, which I believe is true. And you know what I mean? But at the same time, you already won last shot at the title. Again, that's talks of someone that's not 100% in it. But so again, I'm going to put that pressure. Obviously, I'm going to throw a lot of different things. I'm getting better and better every day. That's what people forget. I'm training full time now. I've got no injuries. My body's really good. So straight after my fight, I got back into it. I got to evolve. And I still got 8 weeks to go. You know what I mean? So I'm going to be going out there, a whole new me. I'm going to throw things at him that the game's evolving so much, and I just believe that's what's happening. He's very explosive. You know what I mean? He's going to be dangerous. He loves a good counter and stuff like that. But I'm going to throw things at him. I'm going to have him panicking so much in there. He's going to wear out, and I'm going to get the win. Whether I TKO in the second or third round. I'm seeing the third round TKO. Usually I say earlier, but I reckon second or late in the second or third round.
As you mentioned there, Aldo, of course, being a deadly striker, great counter puncher, pretty good takedown defense as well. But he's also taken a lot of damage over the years. You've shown a relentless pace, as you've talked about all along here, and devastating power time and time again. So do you anticipate this as being a dogfight or a technical showdown?
Oh, well, like when I'm putting that type of pressure on someone, again, I'm going to make them throw. They're going to panic punch and things like that. So they're going to be dangerous. When they're early in the fight, they're always going to be dangerous. They're always going to be explosive. They're always keen to pull the trigger. But as these minutes go by, he's going to be second-guessing himself because I'm going to capitalize on times that he's not throwing or when he's throwing and just things like that. He's constantly going to be answering a lot of questions, and that's just going to wear on him. He's going to keep gasping for air. He's going to keep on trying to look for that half a second break. You know what I mean? It's hard to see on the outside. People talk about how much of a pace it is, but if you have that in front of you, it's a whole different level. You're trying to breathe. You're trying to think, and I just do not let him think or breathe. You get what I mean? So the whole time they're constantly like, give me a second, far out, let me just have 1 second to myself. I'm like, I ain't giving you nothing, and that's what's going to happen. Obviously, that style against a powerful striker like Aldo, especially early, is going to be dangerous. So I'm not expecting this to be easy. I'm expecting him to throw some hard shots, hard leg kicks, but he is going to slow down, and you know what I mean? And I'm looking to take him out.
Yeah, man, you've heard a lot of fighters say this over the years countless times that, the scariest thing for a fighter is getting tired. I know Boss Rutan has mentioned it, many times in his career. Anytime that he actually got tired, it was such a devastating feeling, and it really does break you. So,
Yep.
Obviously, you're the guy with that pace that matches up well against anybody in the division. But give us your thoughts on the opportunity of competing in Rio. Obviously, going into very hostile territory, but what a statement it would be to defeat Aldo in his backyard.
Yeah, man, that's exactly right. As I was saying before, you take him out, you're the guy. You take him out in his home country, you know what I mean? You're the man. You know what I mean? It's not easy. That crowd's going to be roaring. But one good thing about me, that stuff don't affect me at all. I've got like I don't know if you'd call it a tunnel vision or a tunnel focus, where I do not really hear or see anything, but what's in front of me in that cage. Will it help him? Maybe. Will it give him that extra, while he's tired, I guarantee you I'm going to gas him in there. Will he always have that one last push because that crowd's going nuts? Maybe. But will that adrenaline rush from the crowd make him throw too much and tire him out even earlier? Maybe. We'll see. But at the same time, it won't affect me.
No, I know you're predicting the finish in late second, early third, but there's always that issue of the hometown judges. Is that a concern for you going into this one at all?
Oh, it's obviously going to play in your mind, but at the same time, I don't take stupid risks, so I'm not going to go out there and just throw stupid punches just to get the finish. I'm going to play what's in front of me, and the finish will come. But at the same time, you know what I mean? Yeah, that I can't see. It's going to be pretty high pace and pretty competitive that first round. But I believe that second and third round, it's going to be too obvious to do that anyway. But at the same time, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to play my game. The finish will come.
Right. Can't press for it, but obviously when the opportunity presents itself. So a big win on May 11th, and you're fighting for the title before the end of 2019. I'd imagine that's the ideal scenario, correct?
Say it again, sorry, I missed that one.
Mate. Yeah, no problem. You get the big win on May 11th. You're fighting for the title before the end of 2019. I'd imagine that's the ideal scenario for you.
Oh, 100%. That's it. That I'm going to be, like I told you, I'm going to be the guy. I'm fighting. I want to be champion by the end of 2019, before the year's out. So whoever Max does, wait for Khabib. If he wins and he takes out Khabib, I ain't waiting around that long. I'll fight someone for the interim, and then if he wants to come back, I'll again make that decision for him, so he can stay and not have to do such a big weight cut and stay at lightweight.
Now, speaking of Max, obviously set to move up to face Dustin Poirier for the interim lightweight title. What was your reaction to that fight being booked, and give us your thoughts on how you think that one's going to play out?
I don't know. Like, can you really be surprised with people going for the whole double champ thing? You know what I mean? It's happening so much now.
Right.
There was so much talks about it beforehand anyway, so I knew it was coming. There was talks of him and Ferguson, and so I wasn't surprised. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get upset about it, but at the same time, I don't want this division to be put on hold. You know what I mean? I reckon if he already made that decision to fight him, because if he wins, he wants to fight Khabib, already fine. I know I hate this whole interim title thing, but at the same time, these divisions need to move forward. So
True.
Even if this fight was for the interim, I wouldn't be complaining. That extra money, that title fight money.
Right.
We can't argue with that, can we? Yeah. They could, yeah, man. That's definitely a chance. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like fighting's easy. It really is. Fighting, you go out there and you do your thing. It's all that hard work before, preparation, weight cutting, and all that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? If he's successful at lightweight, say he takes that win out, like, would you really want to do all that cutting weight if you're successful at a heavy division? So, you might not see him come back, but at the same time, if things don't go to plan, he probably will have one last stint, you know what I mean? Make another big money fight, because he's still got that featherweight title and whatnot. But again, I'm planning to get that belt or take that belt. So just it is what it is. But yeah, there is a chance of him not coming back down. He's a big boy.
Would you be disappointed if you didn't get a chance to win that belt from Max?
Oh yeah, definitely. Obviously you're gonna always have people saying, yeah, but. You're not really the champ. Max is the champ, so I'd rather him come down and again make that decision for him. So I'd rather be the guy to do that. You know
right.
what I mean? I want to be. Could you imagine? Could you imagine that? Chad Mendes, Aldo, then Max. You're going from rank number 10 to rank number 5, number 1 contender, and then all of a sudden you take someone out like Max and Aldo, them last two fights, you're all of a sudden a legend of that division, of a featherweight. You know what I mean? Like you're taking some of the biggest names out in the featherweight, so you're almost a featherweight great already.
Right, without question.
That could all happen within 2019. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. So that's how big a fight like that would be as well. But again, I don't want to look too much forward. Obviously. I'm good with this sort of stuff. People are going to be like, oh, yeah, he's not even thinking of the fight. I'm always thinking of that fight. Put a pad holder in front of me, working a game plan of Aldo. That's all I think about. But, you ask me questions about Max, I'm going to tell you what I think at the same time.
Well, of course. And I think a lot of people that haven't spoken to you earlier on, like, during the Kennedy fight, all of that, you've been the same confident guy all the way through. You've been chomping at the bit to fight the top in the division this whole time. So, I don't take it that way. But listen, real quick, before we wrap this up, I know you spoke to Helwani about this in depth, and I got to say, man, what an incredible friend you have to reschedule his wedding. I hope you're taking him to the fight, correct?
Yeah, I don't know. He's not there. I would love to. I would absolutely love to. We actually got his Bucks weekend this weekend, so I'm going to have to be a little sensible. But, it's I don't know. He's got a business he runs over here, and I don't know if he would make it, but I'll definitely be inviting him, and I'll be paying for a ticket if he wants to come. But it's incredible, man. What a crazy, it doesn't surprise me because I know what type of guy he is, and that's why we're best mates. But at the same time, that's. You don't hear things like that very often. Someone changed at a wedding just so someone can fight or someone can be at your wedding is pretty crazy. So,
right.
I'm glad to be in someone's life like that. Both of him and Lauren. She actually made it happen. So for even a fiance to sort of make it happen is just incredible. So that just shows what type of people they are.
Absolutely. That's a lot of support for you to chase after your dream and get that gold eventually, of course. But I have to imagine that it puts a lot of extra pressure on you to make sure you come out on top.
Yeah, 100%, man. That's just more motivation for me. That makes me want to win even more. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. I fight for my family, my friends, and supporters, and, that just adds to my motivation for this fight.
Right, and like you said earlier, I mean, what a story it would be. Retire Chad Mendes, possibly retire Jose Aldo, fight Max Holloway. You would definitely go down as the greatest featherweight of all time, man.
Yeah, man, 100%. Well, and that could all happen within this year, you know what I mean? It's crazy how this could be. It just seems like not that long ago I was like, asking for a contender, you're asking for a ranked fighter, you know what I mean? It's crazy. It was a little bit of a slow start. Now it's just going crazy. And I was always expecting it at the same time.
Well, I have no doubt this is going to be yet another huge step for you towards your goal of becoming a UFC champion. It's been awesome to witness this rise thus far, and I look forward to all the continued success, my friend. So in conclusion, tell all the fans out there what they can expect on May 11th in Rio and why this is a fight that they do not want to miss.
Yeah, you don't want to miss this one. Like I said, if you enjoyed my Chad Mendes fight, it's going to be a high-paced fight like that. It's going to be a very, very explosive first round. We're both going to be dangerous, but again, I'm going to set that pressure, and I'm going to really put it on. But it's going to be exciting. There's going to be some heavy lever getting thrown. Keep an eye on.
All right, man. And any shout-out sponsor plugs before we let you go?
Yeah, shout-out. Yeah, I'll get a couple of shout-outs. Unibet, Southern Cross Industries, Muscle Meals, and Combat Nutrition. Just want to give them a shout-out. And then, just one more shout-out to Eli and Lauren for changing the wedding date.
Right, the biggest shout-out of all to them.
Yeah.
All right, Alex, man, thanks again for the time today. Always a pleasure to speak with you. Hopefully we can catch up again while the fight draws near. Until then, man, have a great training camp, brother.
Thanks for the chat, mate. Appreciate it. Legend.
All right. Take it easy, bud. As I said in the interview there, we've been working with Alex for quite a while now, and he's always been this confident. We talked about it, and it's the truth. If he retired Mendes, retires Aldo, and then beats Max and sends him to lightweight, you really can't argue that he's the greatest featherweight of all time. May 11 is going to be great. Make sure you guys tune in for UFC 237. But let's get to our final guest for this episode. BJPenn.com radio, the fighter's voice, closing out the show, the one and only Dan Lambert. All right, Penn Nation, I'm very pleased to introduce our next guest. Given that we've had a great relationship with several of his athletes at American Top Team, it only seems fitting that we're finally joined by the founder of that prestigious gym, the one and only Dan Lambert. Very excited to finally speak with you today, Dan. How was life in Florida this afternoon?
It's sunny and good. Thanks for having me.
Right, the Sunshine State, that only makes sense. What's it like to be running arguably one of the greatest gyms in combat sports, and how involved are you on the day-to-day operations?
I guess it's pretty cool. We have a good time. There's ups and downs, obviously. There's good streaks and bad streaks, and time where there's drama at the gym, and it's not the greatest place in the world to be, and other times when you're on a winning streak and everybody's doing well and everybody's happy, and it's a great place to be. We have, as far as my time, we have a weekly coaches meeting once a week where all the coaches get together and we go over all the issues that are affecting the gym at the time. I make sure I'm always there for that. And then other than that, I just come in on an as-needed basis, try to get in there another day of the week. My business is finally getting to a point where it's slowing down, and I've sold off a couple of the companies that I was involved in, so I'm starting to spend more time in the gym every week, which is a good thing.
Right, and I can only imagine, a guy for a passion of mixed martial arts like you have, the more time you're in there, the better off for you, right?
Yeah, that's my last 25-year plan.
Right.
That's where I'd like to spend a lot of my time.
Right. Now, the facility itself is absolutely incredible. All the amenities under one roof, dormitory-style housing for the athletes. You've gone out of your way to make American Top Team something really special. What was the goal for you from the beginning of this project?
When it started, we were just kind of a jiu-jitsu team that were training jiu-jitsu, traveling to tournaments around the country with Conan Silveira and his brother Marcelo, and then a couple of the guys wanted to fight, some of the younger guys, and they started fighting, and then we just kind of grew with the sport. Back in 1995, we didn't really have any ambitions of growing to some huge team, having fights all over the world on a weekly basis, because there weren't fights all over the world on a weekly basis. There were jiu-jitsu tournaments and fights every so often. So we just kind of went with the flow, and as the sport grew, we grew, and here we are.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this has all been at your own personal expense, correct? I'm wondering what motivates a guy to invest boatloads of cash into grooming combat athletes.
You got to find something you like, to do on your spare time. What's the point of working hard and making money if you don't find something that you enjoy to do with it? So it's an expense. Team's really never been a profit center for me, and it probably never will be. But that's all right. It's something that I enjoy. It's something the guys, my group of friends that run our gym with me enjoy, and we have a lot of fun with it.
And not to mention, I think that a sport like this, obviously all the athletes under your roof are incredibly appreciative of you and everything you do for them. But in a sport like this, I feel like we need more guys like you in the business.
The business has changed so much over the years. It's now gotten to a point where certain guys that are on the gym owning side and coaching side can actually do it as a real business and make money, and that's attracted people over the years, and that's a good thing. Nothing's going to survive long term if it's just relying on people that just really like to do it or are doing it for fun and don't have to rely on it to make a living. Right. It's also gotten to the point where a lot of the athletes are making some good money. There's quite a few have-nots and fewer haves, but that the have side is growing, so it's cool to see. It's just, there's so many people that are actually making a living, whether they're working in the gym or whether they're fighting or whether they're coaching or whether they're managing fighters, that it's gotten to the point where it's a legit sport and a legit business, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man, I'm definitely on the side or train of thought rather that we're certainly not there yet in regards to the have and have-nots. Hopefully that changes one day, but now I'd imagine that the real reward for you is seeing these athletes succeed, right? Like when you embraced Amanda after she shocked the world and finished Chris Cyborg.
Oh man, to see somebody get to, obviously you're not going to have a lot of moments like that in this sport or in any other sport. To see somebody like her go from, not having enough money to scrape together to put first, last, and a security down on an apartment to get to that point, beating Chris Cyborg and becoming a champ on a monster pay-per-view. That was pretty cool. But it's really just the daily grind. I like the daily grind of what we do. I like having fights every weekend. I like having something to be interested in, helping certain fighters get along with certain things that might get in their way. Seeing the thrill of victory, agony of defeat. It is what it is. We had a real bad week a couple weeks ago with Tyron Woodley losing his belt and a couple other fighters losing. We went 1-3 on the show. Pedro Munoz had a big win, but I still had a good time on that show. It used to be where, I lived and died with every victory, or lived with every victory and died with every defeat. And, over the years, you never want to get numb to winning or losing, but it's more just the process and the journey and, seeing the good, dealing with the bad, and, waking up the next day and say, okay, let's go again. The next day we woke up after Amanda's fight, we're like, okay, great. What's next?
Right. Right. So it sounds, obviously, like I said, there's a ton of passion in this for you, but the more the better. You like to stay busy with this. Yeah,
this is. It's a hell of a way to see the world. There's fights literally every weekend, almost. I don't know what the UFC is going to do this year, but the number of shows is probably in the 40s, and so it's nearly every weekend. Wherever there's fights, I like to go to places I haven't been. I like to go see fighters that I care about. I like to go to shows. I like to watch other guys fight. But there's just such a choice. A few weeks ago we had a guy in the main event in Prague, and last night we had JDS and two others, fighting in Kansas. The week before that we had 4 guys on the show in Vegas. Next weekend we got Masvidal in the main event in England. It's just Poirier coming right after that for a title. Kyoji Horiguchi in Japan the week after that. It's like there's so many fights, and it's a cool way to see the world. It's a cool way to bond with your friends and people that mean a lot to you, and we make it fun.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. From a media standpoint, as much as I love the saturation of the sport right now, it's getting a little tough to follow. I mean, from your standpoint, did you kind of have the same feeling? Like, man, how do you keep track of all these athletes?
I mean, it used to be when there were like, 3 UFCs a year. It's like every show was huge, and you knew every fighter on the show, and every fight was such a big fight you were looking forward to. And now you're seeing shows where it's like, who the hell's that? And I'll have weekends. I'll admit, I'll have weekends. I'll say, hey, who we got fighting tonight? And it'll be so and so and so. Oh shit, I forgot he was fighting. I forgot she was on the show. So yeah, it gets a little hard to follow at times, but yeah, it's. I think expansion's a good thing. I think saturation's a good thing. More people are getting fights. More people are getting paid. Hopefully the sport is growing, and hopefully the athletes get to, participate in the uptick along with the promoters.
Absolutely, and I'd certainly rather be in a situation where it's feast and not famine as well. So I agree with you there 100%. But getting back to Amanda real quick, what a moment that was when she finished Cyborg. Absolutely incredible. What do you think is next for her? It feels like she's already conquered the world at this point, right?
Oh man, she's come a long way. There is no doubt about that. I think the plan for Amanda is to go back to 135. That division's been sitting dormant for a while. Defend that title, and I'd like to see her defend both belts. A few people have become champs. Nobody's defended both belts at the same time, so I'd like to see her go down to 35, and I think she put a picture on social media trying to get into her skinny jeans and struggle a little bit and said, I'm going back to 35 for the next fight. So hopefully she goes back at 35, defends that successfully, and then maybe a rematch with Cyborg if that's what's in the cards. And if not, maybe she defends it against somebody else. I don't know, but I'd certainly like to see her defend both belts.
Yeah, that would be a first for the industry right now, or the UFC rather at this point, right? And what a better person to have do just that than Amanda.
Yeah, that'd be a great thing for her. Be great for the team. I think it'd be good for the sport to see somebody do it.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of dominant females, I know you guys have plenty of talent in that department as well, but in regards to Joanna, what makes sense for her going forward now, in your opinion, following a couple fight skid?
She took some time off to decompress and go back with the family. She spent a lot of time in the States last year, and she's finally got that itch again. She told me she's coming back, I believe, in about 30 days or so, probably early April, and she's going to start training again, and she wants to get back in. She wants to take some time to get better rather than just take some time to get ready for the next fight. And if I had to guess, I think she'd probably be coming back at 115, but I guess 125 still on the table, so I got to sit down when she gets here and talk to her and talk to the UFC and see what the best direction for her to go in. I don't think anybody's screaming for a rematch with Valentina after that last fight at 125. So, her quickest path to a title shot may be back down at 115, but I guess we'll have to see where that goes.
Right. I agree with you 100% there. It's tough. I mean, but based on her performances, obviously the Valentina fight didn't go her way, and she's got the long history of being such a dominant champion at 115, but what weight class would you prefer? Would you rather see her go back down, or do you think she maybe looked a little better at 115, not having to cut all that, or 125 rather, not having to cut all that weight?
The weight cut's an issue. It's not an easy weight cut for her. She's got to be really, really disciplined for not just a couple weeks prior to the fight or a few weeks prior to the fight. She's got to be entirely disciplined on what she eats for an entire camp, which is hard to do. It's hard to worry about that. It's hard to focus on that and work on getting ready for a fight at the same time. If she's comfortable with the weight, I'd rather see her at 115. If the weight cut is something that's too, strenuous on her, I'd rather see her at 125. We got to sit her down and go over that and make that call. Right,
whatever's best for her. Now, of course, Amanda and Joanna, just being a couple of many champions to come out of American Top Team, on top of all the other incredible talent under the roof. One guy in particular, though, that you mentioned earlier that we've been lucky enough to have a great relationship with is Jorge Masvidal. He's set to jump the pond and throw down with Darren Till this Saturday. Give us your thoughts on that matchup and what it means for Gamebred to get a big win on the 16th.
Big fight. George always wants to fight the highest ranked possible guy that he can get. When that fight came up, he was politicking for that fight. He saw that there was an opening to fight Till. Tough fight. I mean, that Till is not an easy fight for anybody, and neither's George. I think it's going to be a striking match. I don't think either guy's looking to slow the fight down, slow that action down. Till in his hometown, George is hungry. He needs a win. Phil's obviously coming off a disappointing fight with Woodley. He needs a win. I think that fight's going to be exciting. I'm pretty pumped for that fight.
Yeah, me too, man. And I'll tell you, the last time I spoke with him, he talked about how much he relishes being the underdog in the guy's hometown. And I believe the quote he said to me was something like, he loves to silence a crowd and hear a pin drop. You know what I mean? So definitely a lot on the line. Very exciting matchup. And he's honestly one of the realest guys in the business, and the fans would certainly take note of that as well. Not big on trash talk, but not a guy that you want to cross either. Lets his fighting speak for itself. But on the other hand of that, the other end of the spectrum, you have a guy like Colby Covington. Brash, outspoken, definitely enjoys the bad guy role and taking it to the next level. He's one of the handful of guys that you actually manage, correct?
Yes, I do manage Colby. Over the years, I've managed, at one point, most of the people in the gym, and then we got to the point where a lot of managers felt comfortable sending people to our gym because sometimes managers are concerned about, sending someone to a foreign gym and, having the fighter get poached from a management standpoint, and we have a reputation where that doesn't happen at our gym. So we've grown to the point where we have fighters coming in that are managed by other people. We have fighters that I manage. We have fighters that manage themselves. We're primarily a training facility. I'd be just as happy not managing anybody, but if there's people at the gym that need some help in dealing with the promoters, we try to provide that service as well. And yeah, Colby's one of them.
Now, I mean, do you enjoy doing the managing side of things, or it sounds to me like you might rather step away from that?
It's funny. People look at the managing side of things and say, "Oh, that'd be a pretty cool job." That you get to work with the fighters and go to the fights and cut these contracts for them, stuff. Manage stuff, fucking pain in the ass. You spend most of your time arguing, with the promoter over the contract. You spend half the time arguing with your client over the contract. Nobody seems to ever be happy. If both sides are happy, the deal, it's probably a pretty strange deal. So yeah, I don't love managing fighters, but I'm happy to do it if they want the help.
Now, Colby in particular, he's always spoken very highly of you and credits you with a lot of his success. I've personally been a big supporter of his over the past few years, and he's been very good to us in return, but I still don't grasp why so many people don't understand his angle. Does that surprise you as well?
I think people understand his angle. I think some people just don't like it. But you hit on it. You said Masvidal's like one of the realest guys in the sport, and I don't know how you get any more real than fighting someone in a backyard on a Kimbo undercard in South Miami how many years ago.
Right.
But I think what people don't get is Colby's real too. That's Colby's character. They say in pro wrestling that the guys that get over are the guys who that's their character, and they're just projecting their character out to the audience. When people try to fake it, people see through it. Colby is kind of a cocky douche at times. And he's loud and he's brash, and that's just the way he is, and that's the way he comes across. I mean, that's Colby's character, and I think that's the reason why he's getting a lot of attention, because people see it, and it's real. It's real. He is loud. He is showy. He doesn't show a lot of respect to people outside of our gym and his circle of friends in the sport, and he's willing to just take that role and go with it, and he's happy being the bad guy. And I understand why people don't like that, but you know what? If you don't like it, great. Pay your money and hope to see him get his head caved in.
Right. Now, you make a great point there, because I was like an old school pro wrestling fan. I was a big WCW guy, the NWL, all of that stuff. And you make a great point that some of the best angles, some of the best stuff that got over with the crowd really was organic, and it was the guys being themselves. So I would agree with you 100% there, that what Colby's doing, if it is true to himself, that's the best way to go.
I certainly think it is. Colby's, he's not shy. He doesn't mind speaking his mind. He does not mind, grabbing the bad guy role and running with it. And, like it or not, he's being talked about. He's gotten some big fights. The last 8 months or so hasn't worked out perfectly, but that's been more so just because of a timing thing with, Tyron and his status, and then Colby and his status. And, other than that, that fight would have happened. And then, they wanted Colby to do something else last minute after agreeing to a couple of fights, and he didn't want to do it because it wasn't in his best interest. And then, UFC got a little pissed off at him and said, well, then we're skipping you over. And, we got into a little bit of a pissing match over, but, Colby's not going to kowtow to anybody. He's not going to do what he's told just because someone tells him to do it. He says, nope, this is what I think I deserve, and I'll wait for it. And it looks like it's going to work itself out now, and it looks like he's going to get the next shot at Usman.
And that's one of the big things with being a heel, right, is you really can't walk it back. You got to stay true to that, right?
I'm sorry, say it again?
I mean, that's one of the big parts of being a heel in any business, whether it be pro wrestling or MMA. You really can't walk that back. You have to stay true to what that is, right?
Yeah, well, if you're walking it back, you're probably not the heel in the first place.
True,
true. It takes me back to, what you hear from Colby is all you're ever going to hear from him. I don't see him ever trying to say, hey, the time's right where I'm going to become a good guy and I'm going to start doing this and that, because that's just not him.
Right. Now, it's common knowledge that you have a love of professional wrestling and you've been involved with sports entertainment over the years. That being said, man, I've got to ask, how big of an influence has that been on a guy like Colby? Did he walk into the gym with the idea that he'd dive headfirst into being a heel, or was that something that you guys, kind of felt came naturally for him? It sounds like it did come naturally for him, but, I mean, was that the plan from the onset as soon as he walked in the gym?
Man, when he first came into our gym, he had never fought in his life. He was just a college wrestler who was looking for what was going to be the next phase of his life, and he came down. And you're not going to get out there and start talking a bunch of trash and trying to be the bad guy in the gym when you've never fought before.
That's true.
So he certainly always had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, and he certainly was never going to, be a guy that was going to let anybody walk all over or push him around. So he always had the attitude. But, until you get the spotlight, and you don't get the spotlight until you've won quite a few fights and done something to bring some attention upon your part, and then onto your part. And then once that came, his attitude started shining through and his personality got out there. And, what you see is what you get.
Right. I said from the onset, I had to remind people that, because a lot of people say, where did this come from? This all kind of came out of left field. But in reality, if you remember the stuff he was doing, we'll fight for food, standing on the corner, or the funny stuff he did, poking jabs at Johnny Hendricks, moving to Jackson's gym with all the surrounding fast food joints or whatever. This has been his thing from the onset. But a lot of media and fans have accused him of taking it too far. I, for one, have always been of the train of thought that, who are we to lecture a guy about optimizing the opportunities available in prize fighting? Where do you stand on that? Does Colby need to dial it back ever, in your opinion?
Hey, you know what? Does Colby say and do things that make me cringe a little bit and say, "Oh, fuck"? not really the best look from a team standpoint, or that I'm probably going to have to do a little cooling down at the gym. I mean, the day after his fight with RDA, sorry, not with RDA, with Damian Maia, and he gets back to the U.S. that first day in the gym. I'm like, I guess I better go to the gym today and have a little meeting with everybody to let everybody know what the rules are and what's going on here. So yeah, he does some things that make our lives, from the coaching side, the team structure side. He does some things that make our lives a little difficult. But you know what? I'm not the hall monitor, or I'm not the political correctness police. I'm not Colby's father. I'm not going to sit there and tell Colby what he can and can't say in an interview when you give him a call. He does what he does outside the gym to the best of, in his best interest, and everybody else does it. And I think I said it at that meeting that if Colby wants to come out and say Brazil's a dump, and Amanda wants to come out and say Colby's a fucking asshole, you know what? Knock yourselves out. Hell, for all I know, maybe you're both right. But the fact of the matter is that stuff happens outside the gym. Inside the gym, everybody's professional. Everybody's a teammate. It's not Brazil versus the U.S. or this or that. It's just American Top Team, and everybody better, toe that line. And he does. He has never caused an issue inside our gym with anybody. And when we have issues at our gym, from people, we deal with them. So, we wouldn't tolerate any of that stuff inside our gym. Outside our gym, like I said, I'm not his dad. He's gonna do what he does. Sometimes he does something and I cringe. Sometimes he does something and I laugh. Sometimes he does something and I'm like, oh boy, that's gonna get people talking. But that's his job. That's his life outside the gym. Inside the gym, Colby shows up on time. Colby trains hard, like really hard. And the rest is not my issue.
Right. So it just sounds like the occasional, running and putting a fire out. Aside from that, all is well, right?
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
Now, the result of Colby's angle, in my opinion, has been constant spotlight, bigger fights, bigger paydays, and a bigger following for that matter, whether they love him or hate him. But along with that comes the kind of thing that we saw in Vegas last week with Ali Abdelaziz. What was your reaction to that encounter?
You're talking about at the buffet?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Ben Askren said it best. I signed up for this. I'm here to fight people. I want to fight you in a cage. When Usman approached him, backstage and got in his face and had a little bit of a showdown, he's like, I don't understand the outside the cage type shenanigans like that between the fighters. You guys are going to fight. You're going to get every opportunity to beat each other's ass inside a cage. What more could you ask for? Why would you need to do something outside the cage? Ali, I know Ali. Ali's a decent guy. I get along fine with him. I don't know why he would throw himself into a situation like that as a manager. Maybe that's, part of his shtick, sticking up for his fighters, or, being their brother, or whatever have you. I'm not going to judge it, because the guy's got more fighters under his management in the UFC than probably most other managers combined. So whatever he's doing is working for him. Didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I think it was, it was a stupid thing to do. It's not like his guy's bucking to get a big fight against somebody. His guy just won the title.
Right.
Those fights are going to come to him. If Colby rolled up on him and was talking shit, I'd say, oh, Colby's just trying to make sure he's first in line for that fight. The other way around, I didn't really understand it.
Yeah, I tell you, I think a lot of people are looking at it as Ali is pretty obvious about looking for that spotlight, but as a guy who manages athletes, it sounds to me like, that kind of behavior you would frown upon, or does it upset you at all to see that kind of thing?
I just don't get it. I don't understand how somebody would think that makes them look good or increases their position in the sport. I don't follow it, But again, that fucker's got more people under his management than anybody. Look at his list of clients. So
yes, he does.
He must be doing something that works.
Right. That's absolutely true. Speaking of that weekend, the biggest fight to make in the division over the past year, as we've been talking about, was Colby versus Tyron. But for whatever reason, all the stuff that happened in between with Tyron's injuries, Colby's surgery, all of that stuff, the UFC chose to go with Kamaru and Tyron. We all saw the result last Saturday. From a promotional standpoint, was that a bummer for you, or do you think that Kamaru could be just as big of a fight?
The fight was a disappointment for me, because I love T-Wood. I've known him since before he was fighting professionally, I think, and he's been with us for a long time. He does a lot of his training at Duke Rufus's gym, which is closer to him, and Duke does a great job, obviously, and gets a ton of his credit. But T-Wood's owned an ATT gym for I don't know how many years, and I consider him part of our team and part of our family, and I felt terrible for him. I really like him a lot, and he's a stand-up guy. I probably have more respect for him as an individual than I do of any fighter that's ever come through our gym, because he really always does the right thing by everybody. So I felt terrible for him. Selfishly, no. Selfishly, it took a little bit of heat off of me. Now I don't have to go there and be in between him and Colby fighting. I never want to be around two of our guys fighting, especially when they're fighting for a title, because somebody's gonna experience the ultimate high, and then on the flip side, somebody else is gonna be the lowest of lows. At least when you're in a regular fight, you got a 50-50 chance of winning that fight and being happy at the end of the fight. When two of our guys fight each other, I got a 100% chance of being miserable for somebody. So, I'm not unhappy that fight's not going to happen. I'm unhappy that T-Wood lost his belt.
Yeah, so for you, it obviously it's kind of a blessing in disguise that you don't have to be in the middle of two guys that you love and appreciate going at each other like that.
Yeah, selfishly speaking, I guess that's true.
Right. Now, there's still a backstory from the Black Zillion days with Kamaru, but promotion aside, how do you think Colby matches up with Usman?
Man, that's gonna be an interesting fight. I mean, Kamaru looked pretty damn good in that fight against Woodley. I know it wasn't Woodley's best performance, and it's tough to be a rapper and an actor and a UFC champion of the world all at the same time. And I don't know how much of that performance was just Usman looking unbelievable, and how much of it was Woodley, having a really bad day, or it was probably a combination of the two.
Right.
But Usman hasn't shown a lot of kinks in his armor thus far, and neither has Colby. So it's going to be a crazy fight. Kamaru's been able to dictate the pace and push the pace and control the flow of every fight he's had in the UFC, and he's shown that when he can do that, he's really good, and he's a problem for a lot of people. I'm not sure he's going to be able to do that against Colby, because Colby is not going to step backwards, in that fight. Colby is going to come. He is going to scramble. He's going to do everything he can. He's going to push that pace hard, and that kid's got a third lung in there somewhere that it's just he doesn't get tired. So that's going to be I think it's going to be a wild fight. I think it's going to be a really exciting fight, even on the exchanges that don't involve two guys standing and throwing bombs. I think it's still going to be exciting because those guys will both push the pace and wrestle like a motherfucker. That's going to be a really good fight.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think obviously the big factor going in is how they both push the pace. It's kind of like two immovable objects meeting each other inside the cage. Have you guys discussed had any discussion with the UFC on a potential date for when that fight's going to happen?
I think that's all on the Kamaru Usman side. I think Colby would fight him tomorrow if the fight was ready. Colby, there's been some talk, and Colby turning down fights and whatnot. When Colby got the interim belt, he wanted to fight T. Wood immediately, but he needed a sinus surgery. And when someone calls you and says you got to fight in like 4 weeks and you're going in for surgery tomorrow because you can't breathe, that's a problem. Other than that, Colby didn't turn down fights. Colby was begging to fight. Colby always wanted to fight, and he always wanted bigger fights. So, they had that problem, but they needed Woodley on that show. They needed a headliner for that pay-per-view, and, they put in the Till fight, and then they kind of, had Colby in the doghouse from there on out. But then the Woodley fight got scheduled again, and then T. Wood couldn't do it because he had a thumb injury. And then at the last minute, they wanted to switch opponents and have Colby fight Usman like January 19th or 26th it was, and then said if he wins it, then he can turn around on March 2nd and fight T. Wood for the belt. I was like, well, that math doesn't work. That's like 6 weeks later.
Right.
That fight's never going to happen. And then if that fight doesn't happen, T. Wood's going to fight somebody else. And then that fight's never going to happen between him and T. Wood. So, he said no to that fight, but, it certainly wasn't because he was trying to avoid a fight with Usman. He was trying to get his title shot. He was ranked number 1, had the interim belt. I, on his behalf, asked for an Usman fight with him many times when they were both outside of the top 15 and they were both starting a path to start cracking the rankings. I thought that was a good fight for him back then, and then it never happened. We asked for it several times, and I don't know if the other side turned it down or if it just didn't work out time-wise or other fights popped up for either guy. But the fight never happened, and then Usman never started calling Colby out until Colby came, popped into the top 5 or so. But guys in the top 5 don't want to fight somebody that are down like in the 14 or 15 range. That's just not the way it works. The same way Usman said, I don't want to fight Ben Askren. Why is he calling my name? Why is he calling me Marty? He's calling you Marty.
Right.
He's calling you Marty because you're ranked like number 2, and he's looking for his first fight in the UFC. He's trying to take your spot.
Right.
So it was the same situation. I think it's a good fight. I think it's going to happen. I think it should be a promotable fight. There is some legit dislike for each other right there, which typically translates well to a build-up. And guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I feel like the UFC did Colby pretty dirty with that one because it was the UFC doctors that suggested he get that surgery, correct?
I don't know that they suggested the surgery or not, but he clearly needed it. I mean, he did his last 3 or 4 fights, breathing at like 20% of what he should have been breathing at. I mean, you couldn't deny that he needed the surgery. And, the UFC has a business to run. They're looking to put on shows, and, I don't think that they really care as much if a guy's 100% or 80% or 90%. If they need a guy to fight, they need a guy to fight.
Right.
So they got to look at it from their side, and Colby's got to look at this from his side. We got to look at it from our fighter's side. I wasn't going to let him go into a title fight against the arguably the best welterweight to ever live at that time without being close to 100%. I know everybody says, well, nobody goes into a fight ever 100%, or you're not training hard. Yeah, that's fine, but breathing at 20% is far different than having a little bit of a nick.
Right, and then couple that with a guy who is known for his pace, so I agree with you, man. I mean, you take away a guy's lung function, that's a big deal, especially for a guy that is known for pushing a pace and wearing guys out, so I couldn't agree more. But go ahead.
I was going to say, I agree. It was an unfortunate situation. I didn't like the way it went down. I thought Colby got the shit end of that stick, but, at the end of the day, shit works itself out, and now he's going to fight for the belt.
Absolutely. And another big title fight you have looming. Of course, you mentioned it earlier. Dustin Poirier in the rematch with Max Holloway. That kind of came out of left field, in my opinion. What do you think of that matchup?
Man, I when I was looking at the list of possible matchups for Dustin coming up, Max wasn't at the top of my head. I mean, he's Max. Now that I think about it, though, I mean, it makes sense. Max is freaking huge. For a 145er, Max is not going to be a small 155er. He's on a crazy run. He's just tearing guys up. He's going to stand and bang, and Dustin's going to stand and bang. That is going to be, even though that wasn't the fight that I would have thought of, I was thinking, maybe Dustin and Ferguson if Khabib was going to be out until November, like he was saying. I wasn't thinking the Max fight, but now that they booked it, I'm like, oh shit, man, that's a really good fight. Maybe there's a reason these guys make the big bucks and do what they do and set these fights up. Because, I mean, if you don't want to see Max Holloway fight Dustin Poirier, go watch basketball or something.
Absolutely. Definitely a very exciting matchup. It has a history there as well. I couldn't agree with you more. But like you said, wasn't at the top of the list for opponents that I would have thought of for Dustin. But, hey, man, when it all unfolds on fight night, I'm sure we're going to be in for a treat. Between Dustin and Colby alone, could be another very big year for you guys at ATT in regards to capturing titles. But I think the event for you guys this year is going to be the card in Florida on April 27th. Yoel facing Jacare, of course. But I'm sure you guys are going to be looking to stack that card with as much talent from your gym as possible, right?
Yeah, we got some other people on that show as well. I will throw out there that Thiago Santos is next in line for John Jones's belt as well. So there's another big opportunity right there for us. Good news is you get a title shot. Bad news is against John Jones, best fighter to ever walk the earth.
Right.
But Maheta, the guy hits like a truck. Back to the Fort Lauderdale show. Yeah, we've got a few other guys on the show. John Lineker's on the show. Andrei Arlovsky's on the show. Glover Teixeira moved his training camp back to Connecticut after being with us for a while, but hopefully he'll come back down for a couple weeks before that show if he can, and fine tune his game plan up. He's a great guy, so even if he's not part of the team, so to speak anymore, still love that guy. So we're definitely going to have some guys on that show. It's going to be interesting. We may have one or two more that are being lined up right now.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, obviously nothing's finalized. The card, the card hasn't been finalized, but I'd imagine that you'll have a few more guys on there.
Yeah, the last time they came to South Florida was they had a show at the Hard Rock, and we had 8 people on the show.
Right, only makes sense, man. It's your backyard. You got to go out there and fight in your backyard,
I guess so.
But you real quick, just to recap the past weekend, you mentioned JDS earlier. How do you think he looked against Derek Lewis? Obviously a great win. Do you think he's maybe knocking on that door to get another title shot eventually?
I mean, it's the heavyweight division. Everybody knows it's not the deepest division in the world, and it's also not the easiest division to put together a nice win streak. So three wins over good guys, typically at heavyweight, is enough to get you that spot. You got Stipe there, you got Ngannou, back on a little bit of a tear again. So who the hell knows what's going on with Brock Lesnar? I don't know. Would it make sense for him to get a title fight right now? Yeah, I think he can make a really good argument for a title fight. I have no idea what's going on with Stipe. I mean, he hasn't fought since July, and I don't know what his status is with the UFC. If they're at odds, or if he's injured, or if he's just waiting and said it's a title shot or nothing. For me, if I had to guess, he's probably going to have to fight one more time against one of the top 1, 2, 3 guys in the world, and probably win that fight to get the title shot. But he looked great. I think it was a great matchup for him, on paper. And but he went there and backed it up and took out a real dangerous guy.
Yeah, I was surprised at how many people weren't going his way in the lead up to this fight. I felt like he's a really bad stylistic matchup for Derek Lewis.
Yeah, I thought he was a terrible stylistic matchup for Derek Lewis. I thought that on paper that was there are no safe fights in the UFC, and certainly not at heavyweight with the way those guys hit. But I think he wins that fight a lot more than he would lose that fight.
Absolutely. All right, well, listen, Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you today, man. And, we've really only scratched the surface of topics here. Hopefully we can catch up again soon and continue the conversation. But before we wrap this thing up, anything you think we missed? Or?
No, I think you covered the gamut. We got just a lot of fights coming up, a lot of good guys, a lot of people knocking on the doors for title shots. And, title shots don't come easy in this sport, and winning belts is even more difficult. So it'd be a great thing. It's the epitome of the sport to go and get one of those. So hopefully we add a couple more this year.
Absolutely. It only speaks volume to the talent that's in the room with all these guys in these high-profile fights. In conclusion, man, tell all the listeners out there what they can expect from American Top Team this year and why your gym will remain a powerhouse in MMA for years and years to come.
I think there's a reason, that a lot of the top gyms kind of keep their position going forward, and it's kind of hard to crack that rotation. It's just that they've got just a high quality of training partners. Everybody thinks their coaches are the best. Everybody thinks their facilities are the best. But the fact of the matter is, they're just walls and people yelling at you. At the end of the day, if you don't have really good people to give you different looks and train with you every day, it's going to be so much harder to push yourself farther in the sport. You might have the greatest kickboxer to work with every day, but if that's the only guy you're doing your striking with, you might be getting a little better, but you're really just getting better at training with that guy. And then you find someone with a completely different style, and you're kind of lost. So, we're lucky, very fortunate to have a big staff. We got about 100 pro fighters at our gym that train out of the main facility. You walk on there on every day, and you see just, a long list of people at every different weight, all different styles. Very rarely do we have to reach outside of our gym to find training partners for particular fights, because if you're fighting, you're fighting a tall, lanky southpaw, Alexa strike, we've got a few of those. You're fighting a short, stocky wrestler who's looking to take you down and hold you, we got a few of those. So we're just lucky to have those people, and fortunately, we get knocks on our door all the time from guys who want to come and train here, and they add to the mix, and we just hope to keep plugging along.
Well, I certainly have no doubt that the success will continue, and we're greatly appreciative of all the great relationships we have with a lot of your guys. So, again, man, thank you very much for the time. It was a pleasure to speak with you. Could go on like this for an hour or so, possibly more, but looking forward to the next time, man. You have a great afternoon, my friend.
Okay, appreciate your time. Thanks.
You guys heard me discuss this at the top of the episode. The excitement of having Dan join the show for the first time. For a guy to invest his own hard-earned money into a sport like this and help so many fighters reach their goals and their dreams of becoming champions, he truly is one of a kind in this sport. Great mind for promotion, as you guys seen with Colby, and countless future champions and champions alike under his roof. Hopefully we'll be able to have him on again in the future. But that's it for us, folks. Thank you all for tuning in yet again. Make sure you guys follow us on social media at BJ Penn Radio on Twitter. Make sure you guys follow the website as well, bjpenn.com on Twitter and Facebook. Set up alerts so you get the news as it breaks. We just launched a brand new mobile site. It works great. Speed and functionality, of course, being the goals there. I think you guys will enjoy it. You can swipe right through all the current articles from front to back. Everything you crave from the sport you love, bjpenn.com. We have got you covered, guys. On behalf of the entire team, again, I'm your host, Jay Kinch. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace out, everybody.